cup of tea and the truth. The Zen story that shocks everyone. What if the biggest thing holding you back from growing isn't what you don't know, but what you think you already do? Picture this: a respected university professor, a man of vast knowledge, is searching for true wisdom. He finds a Zen master, all set to learn, but a simple cup of tea teaches him a lesson so jarring, so completely unexpected, it shatters his whole worldview. This isn't just some old fable. It's a timeless truth that, even now, can shock people when they really hear it for the first time. And getting it, truly getting it, is key if you're serious about personal growth. Stick with me, because the truth in this teacup might just change everything for you. Section 1. The Seeker and the Sage. Our story starts with a man who'd spent his entire life chasing knowledge. He was a university professor, highly respected in academic circles. His mind was like a huge library, packed with theories, facts, and solid arguments. He'd spent years, decades even, filling his mental cup to the very brim. Yet for all his learning, a certain kind of wisdom always seemed out of reach. The wisdom of being present, of a true understanding that went beyond just facts. He'd heard stories about Zen, a path that promised insights he couldn't find in his books, driven by a deep-seated feeling that something vital was missing from his carefully built world of knowledge. He decided to find a renowned Zen master. This master lived a simple life, high up in the mountains. His reputation for profound wisdom was whispered about in quiet places, far from the lecture halls the professor knew so well. The professor, with his briefcase stuffed with ideas and his mind already buzzing with questions, set off on his journey. He thought he was ready to add Zen wisdom to his already impressive collection. He saw Zen as just another subject to master, another trophy for his intellectual shelf. Little did he know, his whole approach, his lifetime of collecting knowledge, was the very barrier he'd have to face first. The problem wasn't that his cup was empty, but that it was already overflowing. He just couldn't see it yet. Section 2. The Journey for Wisdom. The professor finally reached the Zen master's modest home. It was a place of calm simplicity, a world away from the busy universities and cluttered libraries he was used to. The master, a man of quiet grace and an almost unsettling stillness, welcomed him. After they exchanged greetings, the professor, keen to show off his learning and frame his quest in intellectual terms, started talking and talking. He spoke at length about his own grasp of philosophy, spirituality, and all the texts he'd studied that touched on ideas he thought were similar to Zen. He laid out his interpretations, his questions, his complex thoughts. He was basically showing off the contents of his already full cup, hoping the master would be impressed and then just add a little Zen wisdom on top. The Zen master listened patiently, his gaze calm, never interrupting, as the professor continued. Filling the small room with his many words and theories, the master quietly started to prepare tea. He moved with a deliberate, unhurried grace. He heated the water. He chose a simple earthenware cup and placed it before the professor. The scent of tea began to drift through the air, a silent contrast to the professor's non-stop intellectual show. The professor, lost in his own words, hardly noticed the quiet ritual happening beside him. His focus was on explaining his knowledge, on proving he was ready for advanced spiritual lessons. He was waiting, not for the tea, but for the profound words of wisdom he expected the master to share once he'd finished his long-winded introduction. He was expecting a lecture, a detailed explanation of Zen that he could then analyze, categorize, and fit into what he already knew. Asterisk, Section 3. the overflowing cup, as the professor went on and on about his knowledge and what he expected. The Zen master picked up the pot of freshly brewed tea and began to pour it into the cup he'd set before his guest. He poured slowly, carefully. The rich, dark tea rose steadily, reaching the brim. The professor, pausing his monologue for a moment, watched. And then the master kept pouring. The tea spilled over the rim, cascading down the sides of the cup, forming a dark puddle on the simple wooden table. The professor, startled, watched in disbelief as the tea kept flowing, being wasted as he saw it. The master's hand remained steady, his expression unchanged, as the cup, already full, simply couldn't hold any more. Finally, the professor couldn't hold back any longer. His academic composure cracked under the strain of this unexpected, seemingly pointless act. "Stop," he burst out, his voice edged with alarm and a touch of annoyance. "It's full. No more will go in. Can't you see it's overflowing?" The Zen master stopped pouring. He looked calmly at the professor, then at the overflowing cup, and then back at the professor. His voice, when he finally spoke, was quiet, yet it carried an immense weight, a profound, shocking simplicity. "Like this cup," the master said, his gaze steady, "you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" The words hung in the air, as stark and stunning as the sight of the spilled tea. This wasn't the complex discussion the professor had been geared up for. It was a direct, devastatingly simple observation. It was the shocking insight. Section 4. The uncomfortable truth. The professor was stunned into silence. The master's words, so simple yet so incredibly deep, sliced through his intellectual defenses like a sharp knife. "Full of your own opinions and speculations." The phrase, which at first felt like an accusation, was deeply uncomfortable. Him, a man of great learning, a scholar, being told his mind was too full. It was a direct hit to his very identity. His first gut reaction might have been confusion, maybe even a spark of anger. How could his vast knowledge, his carefully built understanding of the world, be a problem? Wasn't it the very foundation for building new wisdom? He'd come looking to add to his knowledge, not to have its very worth questioned. The overflowing tea, such a simple physical act, now echoed with a symbolic power that was deeply unsettling. It mirrored his own mind, so crammed with preconceived ideas, theories, and intellectual pride that there was simply no room for anything genuinely new to get in. The master's point was clear: to truly learn, to genuinely receive something new, especially something you experience like Zen, you need to approach it with openness, a willingness to set aside, at least for a moment, what you think you already know. The cup must be emptied. This doesn't mean you have to throw out everything you've ever learned, but it does mean you need to make some space. It means admitting that your current understanding might not be the full picture, or that it might even be a filter that colors new experiences. It means finding some humility, realizing that no matter how much you know, there's always more to learn. And some lessons only sink in when you stop trying to force them into your existing mental boxes. The professor had come to be taught, but he wasn't yet ready to learn. The shocking truth was that his perceived strength, his full cup of knowledge, had become his biggest weakness in this new situation. Section 5. Why this simple truth shocks us. The professor's shock isn't unusual. This story, for all its simplicity, still gives people a jolt when they hear it and really think about what it means. Why is that? Why does such a seemingly straightforward metaphor pack such a powerful, often unsettling, punch. Asterisk, asterisk, first off, it goes straight for the ego. Most of us, especially if we've spent a lot of time and effort gaining knowledge or skills in a certain area, get a sense of who we are and our self-worth from what we know. Our full cup feels like an achievement, a sign of our intelligence and hard work. The idea that this very fullness could be a barrier just doesn't sit right and can feel like a personal insult. To empty our cup suggests that what we treasure, our opinions, our beliefs, our hard-earned conclusions, might actually be holding us back. That's a tough pill to swallow because it forces us to face the possibility that our ego, which loves being right and knowledgeable, is actually getting in the way of our growth. Secondly, the story asks us to be vulnerable. To empty your cup means consciously taking on a beginner's mindset. To admit, I don't know, or at least I might not know as much as I think I do. That takes guts, in a world that often rewards being sure of yourself and being an authority. Willingly stepping into a space of not knowing can feel incredibly uncomfortable, even a bit scary. It means putting aside the comfort of your usual ways of thinking and opening yourself up to ideas that might clash with what you firmly believe. This vulnerability is the way to real learning, but it's a path many of us hesitate to take. And thirdly, it shows that being an expert isn't some fixed state you arrive at. The professor in the story is like anyone who thinks their cup isn't just full, but maybe even perfectly complete. This feeling of having it all figured out is an illusion. Knowledge, especially wisdom, isn't something you just collect. It's an ongoing process. The story shocks us because it reveals how easily our stored-up knowledge can stop being a tool for understanding and instead become like blinders, stopping us from seeing new truths or appreciating different views. We tend to filter new information through what we already believe, often brushing off or twisting anything that doesn't quite fit. The shock comes when we realize that our own expertise, if it's not balanced with humility and openness, can actually make us blind. The story isn't just about learning Zen. It's about learning how to learn anything, at any point in life. This whole idea of an overflowing cup is pretty powerful, isn't it? It really makes you think. Before we dive into how we can actually use this ancient wisdom in our busy, modern lives and how it can help us grow, I want you to pause for a second. Think about your own life, your own beliefs. What's one idea, one opinion, or one piece of knowledge that you hold on to really tightly? Something you feel absolutely certain about. If you feel comfortable, go ahead and share it in the comments below. No judgment here. It's just a fascinating exercise to see what our full cups might hold. And maybe, by sharing, we can all learn a bit more about making space. I'll be reading through them. Now, let's get back to how emptying that cup can actually transform your life. Section 6. Emptying your cup in the modern world. So, this isn't just some abstract idea stuck in ancient Zen monasteries. The principle of emptying your cup is incredibly relevant and super practical in our fast-paced, information-packed world today. How do we actually do it? It starts with a few conscious practices. One of the most important is active listening. When someone is talking, especially someone with a different opinion, is your mind racing ahead, planning your counter-argument? Or are you truly trying to understand their perspective without instantly running it through your own biases? Emptying your cup here means quieting that inner voice and really making space to hear what they're saying. Asterisk, asterisk, another practical step is to actively challenge your own assumptions. We all live by a set of beliefs, many of which we've never really stopped to question. Make it a habit to ask why about your own strongest opinions. Look for information that contradicts your views, not just stuff that backs them up. This isn't about ditching your values, but about making sure they're solid, well thought out, and not just things you picked up without thinking. Also, try to cultivate a beginner's mind in new situations, or even in familiar ones. Approach tasks, conversations, or learning opportunities as if you know very little. Ask the silly questions. Be willing to look a bit foolish if it means you'll understand something better. This humility is a sure sign of someone whose cup is ready to be filled. It's about dropping the act of knowing everything. The benefits of thinking this way can be huge. When you make space, you create more room for learning and creativity. New ideas have a chance to sprout. You become more adaptable and resilient when things change, because you're not rigidly stuck on old ways of doing things. Your relationships can improve because you become a better listener and more empathetic to what others are going through. Professionally, it can lead to innovation and breakthroughs as you become more open to new strategies and solutions. In education, in business, in our personal lives, the ability to empty the cup is key to real growth and deeper understanding. It allows us to move beyond an old, maybe stale, understanding and embrace fresh, vital insights. It's an ongoing cycle of unlearning and relearning, which is crucial for keeping up with a world that's always changing. Section 7. The enduring power of an empty cup. The story of the professor and the Zen master, often just called a cup of tea, has struck a chord for centuries, passed down through generations and across different cultures. Its lasting power isn't in some complicated theory, but in its deep simplicity and its truth that applies to everyone. It's a story that goes beyond any specific religion or philosophy because it touches on something really basic about being human. Our relationship with knowledge and our ability to grow. The metaphor of the cup is instantly gettable. Everyone can picture the overflowing tea and understand the main message. You can't add to something that's already full. Yet, under this simple surface, there's a depth that makes you keep thinking about it. It's a story people come back to at different times in their lives, finding new layers of meaning as they face new challenges and chances to learn. Its timelessness shows that our human habit of clinging to our existing ideas, of letting our egos control how open we are, is a challenge as old as time. The story's impact also comes from its directness. It doesn't offer a gentle hint. It delivers a shock, a necessary jolt to wake us up from our intellectual comfort zone. This short parable packs in a key idea about learning and personal development that's just as relevant today, maybe even more so with all the information around us, as it was in ancient times. The tale reminds us that the path to wisdom isn't just about gathering more, but also about letting go, creating space, and staying perpetually open. It's not about staying empty, but about being willing to empty, again and again, to let in fresh insights, new understanding, and to keep evolving. The empty cup isn't a void, but a vessel ready for the vibrant, ever-flowing river of life and learning. Asterisk. Conclusion. The Zen master, with nothing more than a simple pot of tea, taught a lesson that has echoed through the ages. True wisdom starts when we find the courage to empty our cup. It's a shocking truth for many because it asks us to put aside our most prized possession, our own certainty, to make room for something far greater, genuine growth and understanding. The professor, faced with his overflowing cup, was given a profound gift, the chance to unlearn and truly begin his journey. This story isn't just about some made-up meeting. It's a mirror. It shows us our own tendency to be closed-minded, but, more importantly, it shows our incredible capacity for real openness. What are you holding on to so tightly that there's no space left for new perspectives, new knowledge, new experiences? If this story shocked you, or even just made you stop and think, I hope you'll carry that feeling with you. Let it be a reminder to approach your days with a little more humility, a little more curiosity, and a cup that's ready to be filled. If you found this exploration valuable and want more timeless wisdom to challenge your views and help you grow, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. And please, share this video with someone who you think might need to hear this message. Sometimes, a simple story can spark incredible change. Thank you for watching. Now, go out there and see what you can discover with an empty cup.